What's up, guys? Javon D here. I'm going to show you how to take a one voice simple waveform and turn it into a crazy synthesizer like that. So enjoy the tutorial. Okay, we're looking at the Reason rack, and all I'm going to be using for this tutorial is this nano controller. I'm going to use just a couple of faders and a few of these rotary encoders, and I have it mapped to this Mod Panel 12 CV control board. And then the CV control board will be going into the back of the combinator that you see on the top, which has my synthesizer in it. Real quick, on the left, I have just a vocal audio track and a drum combinator too. In the vocal audio track, in the insert effects, I have this matrix sequencer down below me here. Let me see if I can make it a little easier to see. And so I have that mapped to this Mod Panel 12, this sequence number 1 knob here. So if I turn that up, it's going to trigger a pattern to start. So during the tutorial, I'll just run like one of these patterns, but other than that, I can play the synth just hitting the keys here, and you can tell it's just a normal old wave file synth. The other knobs I'm going to be using is like a feel, that is the amp, attack, and release all on one knob. The cutoff frequency and the resonance of the filter I'm going to be using, and a delay and reverb knob. All this other row is for my other synthesizer that I'm not going to be using. Down below you can see the vocal fader that I'm talking through and the synth 1 there, and I'll probably be bringing in this drum channel 2 at the end just to give you an example of what I'm doing here. Up top, the combinator, I'm going to open the insert effects, and you're going to see my one synthesizer, the Europa, in there. And also, I could open the programmer here. If you notice, I'm actually running the filter rotary encoders into the programmer, not directly into the Europa. So I'm going to use the programmer to really have precise control over those knob movements. Otherwise, it's always like full or off or in between. So I'm going to show you how I do that here in a sec. I'm going to scroll down here, and we can get a pattern going. So the way this is set up is that when this knob's turned all the way down, I can play live and have my arpeggiator going, or turn it up and have sequence play. Zoom in on my synthesizer here. So just this standard boring wave was what I named it. And you can see here on the Europa that there's 3 voices. We're only going to be using that one voice here, so we can turn that on and off. And you can see that there's really nothing going on. Down below, the Europa has its own programmer. That's mainly just for the mod wheel. If you see, the source for everything on here is the mod wheel, which I'm not even going to be really going into. But right out of the gate, you can add a distortion down here, and already you're hearing a dramatic difference in the sound. I'm going to actually add the phaser, EQ, delay, and reverb, which you won't even really hear until I do the mod wheel. When I push the mod wheel up, it gets crazy. But I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'm going to focus on changing the waveform. So up in the waveform, we just have this basic wave, and it's set to electromechanic. You have a bunch of different stuff you can choose from. Each wave has like a start and an end, and then the wave changes in between, so you can scroll through the shape of the wave. So if I move up on the shape, you can hear that dramatic difference. So unless you map a knob to it, it's not really going to do much besides just make a specific noise. But what I'm going to do is actually map an envelope to it, which this is where the Europa really gets cool. down here in the envelopes area, you can draw in your own envelope. If you draw like this notch up at the top, then it's like the shape is cranked all the way open, and then it scales out and then it opens again. So if I bring this up just by mapping it right at that little drop down, envelope 1, and then I'll bring it up the amount, and you can see it changing the waveform automatically there. In this tutorial, I'm just gonna have the beat sync and loop enabled in these envelopes, so that it's just really standard. Like every beat that plays, the envelope scrolls through and then repeats. So you can already hear that nice change there. And then there's the wave modifiers are really cool. So modifier 1, if I enable that, okay, you won't even hear a change because the amount's not up. So once I turn the amount up, you can hear that take effect. But again, what I'm gonna do is actually have an envelope control that. So this envelope starts cranked open and then it falls off towards the end of the beat. So we'll turn the amount up a little bit here. So when the beat starts, it's like real raw and then it amounts out. And if you don't want it to fade all the way out, you can just scroll up on the amount here, and it'll never go down all the way to the end. So that's kind of like it's almost like a start point indicator is that amount. I'm gonna go to modifier 2, let's enable this one. So as soon as I enabled it, you can hear a dramatic difference. And this is set on the phase distort. The other modifier was set on the warp, which you can find in the shaping drop down there. Modifier 2 phase distort is right there in the main drop down area. And if you notice, when you turn the amount all the way up, it's just phased the opposite direction. It sounds almost the exact same. So actually in the middle is where you can turn on and off the modifier and not notice a difference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down to one side, and then I'm going to route another envelope through it. So just like the other ones, envelope drop down, envelope number 3. Let's crank it up a little bit. So this one starts on the low part of the amount, and then cranks, and then phases out. So I want to capture like that middle beefy area. So I'm going to actually increase the amount a little bit so it doesn't go all the way down. So now it's capturing kind of like both beefy areas, keeping it beefy. Just going to come off a little bit. I don't want it super nasty, but also there's more envelope stuff like on the spectral filter. You can kind of have like this filter make a bunch of different excited areas. So if you turn up the resonance, it's just going to excite that frequency that you're on. And again, you can route it through another envelope. So hey, I got envelope 1. I might as well just route that envelope 1 through there. Let's try that out. So now it's getting really crazy. So this is like a single voice. It's crazy how much you can make this single voice just sound like a crazy instrument here. So down here, the user wave, there's only one wave actually enabled and playing, which I just have monoed right here. And then here's the main filter. I'm not even going to use the unison because it's already sounding crazy. But even if you wanted to make it even crazier, you can use the unison. My cutoff and resonance are going to this. So if I change it on my knob, you'll see my cutoff moving with a knob twist and the resonance. So this is why I like routing these knobs through the combinator, because my resonance knob is completely cranked 100%, But if you notice, it doesn't go up all the way. You can see that right here. It only goes up to 65%. So that way it doesn't explode. If you take this up to 100, it'll probably like make some crazy, nasty flip out noise. We can get this kind of mellow it out. But check it out, like the other ones, you can route an envelope to it. So we're gonna route, let's see, envelope 4. And it's just a wide open to like nothing, quick little, it's pretty quick. It's like a 1/4 beat. So I'm gonna turn it up here with the amount. So every like quarter beat, it like opens that filter and tweaks it for you, which is really cool. I like that. And then that one feel knob I have controls the amp, the attack and release, which I really love, because I used to have these mapped like to 2 different knobs on my like MC505, but now in Reason I can just map it to one knob. And if you notice, when I crank it all the way up, the attack and release in the combinator programmer up here only go to specific amounts that I don't want to go past. So now we're like really starting to make some cool stuff here. So you get the idea. So if I have like a bunch of delay, like a delay processor separate from the Europas, so I'm gonna bring up that a little bit. And another cool thing I like to do is, so in this example, as I'm bringing up the delay, you'll notice the master volume. It's mapped to the master volume. So if I bring up my general delay and reverb effects, you'll see that master volume crank up quite a bit. Because a lot of times when you send your synthesizers or something through an effects unit, it kind of dampens it. But in this scenario, I'm cranking it up here. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to give you an example of what a jam would sound like by just bringing in the drums and going off on it real quick. Yeah, so you can see that all I was doing was just messing with the sequencer and a couple knobs and kicking in the drums. And the drums also have its own drum sequencer. I have the drum sequencer on a fader, which I really like that. You could have it on a rotary too, but I kind of like it having it on the fader. It gives it a real live feel. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and yeah, come on by jvond.com where we're jamming all the time and testing out new gear here, and electronic jam night and the quarantine sessions have been a lot of fun. So take it easy, everybody. Yeah.